We're back. We are continuing with my my Dungeons and Lasers scenery. What we're moving on to is the internals of all of the small pieces. Not quite sprayed these yet. Some of them are just a nightmare. You've got like these little tiny sconces that are going to go in the holes in the walls and things. I've started. These grey pieces have got Skaven Blight Dinge on them, which we're going to build up very similarly to how I did the bases and the floors, so it all matches. This temple, this portal thing, we're going to do very similar to the portal that I'd already done with built out with the greens. It's currently got some wild flesh on it, and then we're going to start making things like traps and whatnot. This we're going to the tree. I'll put some Rhinox hide and build up the tree, but I'm going to do it slightly different colour wise to the floor, make it look a bit more natural. I've also got a mimic, which we're going to start doing, and several of these other little creatures and things. So we're going to start working on all of these and come back soon. Okay, right guys, so I've done my stone. Exactly the same as I've done with the previous on these, as you can see, looking very good, which is of course with the base of Skaven Blight Dinge, then some Administratum Grey, some Dawnstone, washed it with some Nuln Oil, and then highlighted it with Tyrant Skull. On this altar, what I've done is just based that with some corn red, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use, there's a really excellent technical paint called Blood for the Blood God, which I'm going to do that to bring out this really nice sort of like blood effect. On all of these wood things here, what I did was I started with a base of Mournfang Brown, and then going to wash them all with Agrax Earthshade, then highlight it with Doomball Brown and finish it off with some final highlights of Skag Brown. The portal, done exactly the same way as the previous. As you can see, all of these highlights have come out really nice. And yeah, we'll work on a bit more soon. So there we are. There's the final product on the tree, which, you know, just a tiny highlight of Skag Brown. On it, I did the skeleton exactly the same way as the previous ones. I'll put a link in the description for that video, but if you look, if I can try and get it, I just lightly highlighted it on the base, same stone and everything, so it matches. This, if you look, it's blood dripping all the way down. That's Blood for the Blood God. Really sort of like comes up nice and shiny, as you can sort of like see there. And I've done the candles very similarly to how I did the others on that. The purple, it's also base of Nagaroth for light, then Xeros purple, and then a light of Gene Stealer. I'm just about to Nuln Oil all of this silver around here to darken that down, and then I'll do some highlights on these bubble bits for the nails. As you can see, that's coming up very nicely, which I will done a base of Balthasar Gold, which I'll highlight with some Auric. So we're moving on to the next stages. I've painted the Auric Gold, and now I've also put a bit of Nuln Oil to darken it. I'm not really happy about how that looks, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight it with a bit of green as well. I think I'm going to use some Warpstone Glow to sort of brighten that up. On this chair, I've started with a bit of McCraig Blue, using there. I'm going to layer it up with some colours. Here, I've just done some lead belcher on these, and I'm going to highlight those. I think I'm going to highlight them with gold, but I'm not sure. I might do it with silver. We'll see how it turns out. Here on this, I've done some corn red, which I will change into some Blood for the Blood God. I've also done, lead belcher around the outside of the barrels. I'm starting to do it on these. and on this case, on this mimic here. Also down the bottom there I've done some Nagrothanite, which I'm going to start highlighting up. I'm going to paint it on the inside of its mouth as well, Nagrothanite, and start working on the tongue. On these traps, all I've done is highlighted them with a bit of Stormhose Silver, but they're done. They look nice and shiny and quite deadly. Done the outside on these, as you can see, with just highlighted those nuts and darkened them with some Nuln Oil. And then here on the sword, as you can see, I've just highlighted the gold edges just a little bit, and I'm going to highlight the the pommel, not the pommel, sorry, the handle, with a bit of lighter red as well. Here we are. Here's the here is the blood for the blood god. Look at that, looking nice shiny. Also lead belchered the spikes, as you can see, but that blood has really sort of like come out quite nicely. The as you can see there, I've also sort of like highlighted that green, making it a bit more of a sickly gold, and highlighted the gold as well with the silver to brighten that up. This I've just highlighted a bit with Lothone Blue, and oh, I've missed a bit. Done a bit of lead belcher around these, which I will darken up with some Nuln Oil. The inside I've done a layer of Xeris Purple, and I've painted the tongue with some Genestealer Pink. What I will do is highlight these with some Genestealer Pink and layer this tongue up with some like Cadian Flesh tone and some Kislev Flesh, and sort of like start bringing that up to like a brighter colour before I do the teeth. These are all done pretty much. Just got to darken them a bit, I think, with Nuln Oil, although they look pretty good. Although it's not really necessary, because I mean these are going to stick on the inside of the walls. I'm just very much a perfectionist, so what I'm doing is the inside of these on these straps, although you're not going to, you know, the players won't see them, but you will. So what I've done is I've done a Steel Legion drab, and then I'm going to do a Baneblade brown, and do those silver pieces. Although obviously players won't see them, I'll know they're there. And then here's the sword with those gold highlights on the pommel. That's that done. So everything's coming along quite quickly and quite nicely. It's looking quite easy and done. So the interior is going to be quite spectacular pretty soon. Alright, and there they are. Just these tiny highlights with these pins done, just to lighten them up. The chair, I've darkened it up, and I'm just going to highlight some edgeworks on the corners, really with some Stormhose Silver. I'm just going to wash that chair, just bring it up with some Gilliman Blue glaze, and then I'm going to highlight it with some Fenrisian Grey. The mimic is coming along nicely. There's his tongue. What I did was just sort of like started to highlight that with some Bugman's Glow, and then what I'm going to do is do a little bit more along the tongue with some Cadian Flesh tone, and then highlight it a tiny bit with some Kislev Flesh. The teeth, what I'll do is do it with some Zendri Dust, very similar to how I do Skull, and then I'll highlight with some Seraphim Sepia, and then do the others, like the Ushabti Bone and the Screaming Skull. Down around these edges and all of these highlights, what I'm going to do is highlight them with Genestealer Purple, just to sort of like bring up all of that. The chest is pretty much done. I'm going to do these locks with some Balthasar Gold and bring it up with some Ulrich armour, and then wash it with some Nuln Oil. These I've started to highlight just the sides, just a tiny bit along the sides with some Stormhose Silver, and as you can see, this is all done. Back's all done. So we're pretty much there for the interior stuff. Got a few more bits to do, but everything's coming along quite nicely, just for highlights and decoration. But let's go. So there we are on the tongue, as you can see, and on the inside of the mouth. I'm going to do down the bottom here, I'm going to add some Acadian flesh tone as well, just to sort of like bring up some more highlight down on here, I think. Also, so I've done the first tooth there. After the archon flesh stage, so now I'm on the shabby bone. So when you do teeth and everything, what you want to do is just sort of like leave like the tail end there. So you do your first layer, which is the Zandri dust, and the light. Now move on to the shabby bone, and then what I'll do is sort of like at the tail end just here. I will do it with with the screaming skull. So then you get effectively the layers. But you just sort of like build it up slowly. Same with how I've done the tongue. As you see, it's sort of like a deeper purple and then moves up in lighter colours like that. Right, so we're moving on to our next things. I've done a couple of layers of Zandri dust on these skulls. Started with some Skaven Blight Dinge on these, some Balthazar Gold on the candelabra, Skaven Blight Dinge on these. I've also got these lovely dragon eggs, which I've started with some green for the green dragons. I'm going to do some red for red dragons. Start throwing in some like yellows and some oranges as well, and all of that, and start building that up. For these statues, we've got some Skaven Blight Dinge on those, some Mournfang Brown, which is that base, which I've done on the on the wood. Pasting in these books, and I've also started on a bit of purple, give those 3 different colours. This is pretty much done. What I've done down here at the bottom is there is a technical colour called Typhus Corrosion, which pairs up with Rise of Rust. Now what it will do is give this sort of like this rust effect. All I'm going to do is do it down this tail end though, so then you just get this light sort of like rusted effect. Which will come out very cool. And on this goblet I've started to do this on this jewel thing, blues, which I'll start bring up in layers too. But that's what we're moving on to for these final final bits of decoration on everything that goes into my internals on my Dungeons and Lasers. Right, here we go guys. So obviously a lot of finished products. With these with these statues, matching up the colour to the rest of the base and everything else. The stocks, which is matching up to how this is, if you look. So everything's coming along quite nicely. These skulls, I've done the same as I've done all of my previous skeletons, with a base of Zandri dust, and then moved them up. I'm about to layer up these eyes and highlight these corners with some Screaming Skull right there, which is how I've done these claws. And to finish the top of this this orb here, as you can see, with some white scar. These levers are done. Which I will do, do some sort of like plain leather straps. Do the wood first on all of these. This effectively what I've done is I've done a Balthazar Gold base, upped it with auric armour, and then darkened it down with some Nuln oil. I think what I'm going to do is highlight these, some of these edges a little bit with some Stormhouse Silver, and then on these candles I've started them with a base of Corax White. Then what we're going to do is do some white scar as well, and then what we're sort of like looking for is this sort of like coloured effect here, where we've got, and what I'll do is I'll wash them with black and then do some like greys and blackened highlights. so you get that sort of like nice dark effect for these candles and how they're dripping down and things. The base on this I'm not very happy with. I started with the Warboss Flesh and then the Warpstone Glow, but I don't really like it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do that on the Dragon Eggs. What I'm going to do is redo it with Deathwold Forest and then layer it up. Layer it up with some Elysian Green and some Ogryn Camo to sort of like bring that as sort of like a dirtier, more sort of like earthier colour, and then brighten, give those bright skulls up. This I've done some base of Corn Red and then Wild Rider, and then what I'm going to do on the skulls, because what I've done here is I've done some Jacaro Orange, which is this, which is very nice, quite bright orange, but it's a base. And then what I'm going to do is bring up those colours with some Troll Slayer Orange, some Fire Dragon Bright, and then also sort of like do the tips on these bigger ones in like some yellows, maybe do some like yellow in there and stuff for to make them Fire Dragon Eggs. These I've started with some Xandri Dust, just like my skulls, and again I will sort of like do some Mooty, Shabby Bone and some Screaming Skull to highlight those and paint those straps. But that's it, we're pretty much, we're very nearly done. We've got some of these lights and things that we're going to do pretty soon as well, but they're going to be very simple, very easy. Mostly bronze and silvers. So there it is, there's the change. As you can see, you can still see the Warpstone Glow, but the Deathworld Forest sort of like made it much better colour. I think I'm probably going to do a double layer of Elysian Green as sort of like a rough dry brush on this, and then I'll wash it with some Biltan Green to get all of those cracks and crevices, and work on these eggs afterwards. So here's the here is the eggs with their first layer of Jacaro Flesh, Jacaro Orange even. I'm going to do a second colour of Jacaro Orange for the simple fact is that Troll Slayer Orange, although it's an incredibly bright orange, it is incredibly thin as it is, and when you thin it extra, it's just going to be much worse. Here is the first layer of Elysian Green. As you can see, it's sort of it's turned out quite well, much better than I was anticipating. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to wash it with the Biltan Green, and then we'll see whether it needs another layer. But actually, I think it's turning out okay. And then what we'll do is I'm going to highlight it with Ogryn Camo. But before I do any highlights, I think what I'm going to do is paint these. And again, I will do them with the Wild Flesh, and then the Warpstone Glow for that sort of like nice bright eggs. Okay, so here we have the layers from the Troll Slayer Orange and the the Fire Dragon Orange, and then inside here, if you look, I've done a very tiny fine detail of Avalon Sunset, which I'm going to brighten up with Uriel Yellow next. Highlight that effectively. That is how it's going to start to look. I'm also going to sort of like highlight all of these edges down the bottom there with some Wild Rider Red to start bringing up all of this detail. Here, what I've done is there's a Warpstone Glow. I've also topped it with a Moog Green. Inside in here, what I'm probably going to do is do it with an Ogryn Camo. Yeah, I'm going to do it with an Ogryn Camo, and I'm also going to use the Ogryn Camo to start highlighting these things as well. So that's what's coming up next, and these are almost done. Actually, for the internal sides on this crack, actually what I'm going to do is do some Cablite Green, and then right in the very centre do some Sybarite. that should give a very different contrast to all of that colour, and then not have the same, Ogren camo within it. Right, so we're moving on to these pieces. They've had a lead belcher, and I'm also doing these pieces, which I'm starting with a base of warp block bronze. I've also done this lantern, where it's going to have those colours. I'm going to null all of that eventually, but I'm also going to warp block bronze all of this. And then these just need some highlights, but effectively I've done switches, like classic computer game colours. And that's what's but we're very nearly done. And then that's all of the internal bits. So here we have the one of the switches, and I just wanted to show the sort of care and attention that I'm paying on all of this, sort of like the edging. Right, you just need the tiniest bit on your brush, just to sort of like do around these edges, ever so slowly and lightly. Just on these edges, just to highlight them, just bring them up, just ever so lightly. Rotating it slowly, just like that. And that's what I mean about like highlighting edges, just tiniest bit, just to bring it around. And if you have too much, just rub it off. And just follow the curve. Just touching ever so gently. Moving on to the next bit. And that's what I'm going to do with these two as well. So the green here, the green highlight here is Sibolite green. And then what I'm going to do on this blue is I'm going to use Lothern blue. And then on this I'm going to use a Wild Rider red. And just highlight around, just so you get that edging nicely. So here are all of these done. Ready with the warp block bronze. As you can see, it's not really the best base colour. It's pretty dark. So what I'm going to do is there is a Rune Lord brass, but that's a pretty dark as well. So what I've done with this one, and what I'll do with all of the others, is brass scorpion. What's that? Which will bring up, as you can see, a much better lighter tone, and sort of like give this coppery effect. That one is of course done and ready to sort of like stick into one of my walls. And I'll do all of these braziers even, and do this as well. That connector I'm going to make silver that goes through. I need to do the top of that for Rune Lord as well. And then also the top of these braziers, we will work on the flame effects for those, which is basically just going to be orange and yellow with a little bit of a wash. But that's what's coming up, and that's it, that's us done. So here are all of these ready. I've done a layer of Nuln oil. It's not very dark though, so I'm going to do a second, just to sort of like do that. The braziers I've done, which eventually I will highlight some of this with some silver. I'm starting with Chikara orange on the flames, and then what I'll do is do a couple of layers of Troll Slayer orange. I'm going to finish it off at the tips with some yellow to bring that highlight up. And then I've got a wash called Cassandora yellow, which I will wash over it for highlight. But that's it. These are done. So my last video will be showing all of the finished product, and that'll be it. Alright, and here we go, here's the final product. So just highlight the top edges, as you can see, and then done around there, just for the braziers. So that's that done. Let's put all of this together and see what it looks like on a battle map. So here's a warlock room. Look, some nice decoration in there. And of course, because we have our mimic, we can swap out treasure for that. Braziers up on the side walls here. And there's one there too, just to have a look in there. We have our spooky thing. I'm just going to do one more room as well as like another example. But this is how it's all turned out, and it's turned out better than we could have hoped, didn't it? Right, here we go. 2-tiered map. As we can see, it's the second floor. Up here, some shields, and of course we've put the dragon eggs. There's a trap. Got a door here, and then of course a set of stairs leading down to lower level. A few things. Of course, if you look at the consistency on the statues, they match exactly with the walls, how I've done them. The barrels will look different to the doorway, so that they're not the same style of wood. Got this skeleton in the corner, and that's it. It's very easy to make, it's very easy to paint, as you can see. So in my next video, what I'm going to do is work on the companions, all of these little guys from the companion side, and I'll show how to paint all of these sort of like animals ready for that. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video anyway. Hit me up with a like and a subscribe if you would. It would be appreciated, and catch you soon.